Hi, how are you? Do you want paper? No. No? Okay.
Okay, you guys gave me,
Hi.
Sent that.
yeah, you did.
So sorry. It's all good, you know. Had us all off guard, so a little shocked, but change is the one thing we can count on in life, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be fine.
He had actually looked into that.
Yeah, so
But that was because
he was an alum and he said it was kind of a straight job and then
Yeah.
that didn't work out. I thought he was going to do it forever. Oh, wait for us, freshman. He'll pay for all.
All right. Welcome to the Governance Committee meeting, May 2023. First, we need to approve or amend the minutes from our April 19th, 2023 meeting. They're in your board packet.
I would make such a motion.
To approve those, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Off to a good start, Carl. All right,
Paying attention.
President Flanders, we provide the feedback received from the CEOs on those changes to the CEO assessment form. And we'll need to make sure we act on our recommendation today, Carl.
So those changes, you've got the CEO assessment form in front of you.
Yeah, we do.
I have
Looks
it,
like
there
you might
it is.
not.
I
We
do
do.
have
We
it.
do.
Right now I have it. Just to walk through some of the things we've done. We did get, we didn't get a lot of feedback, did we? What did we get so far?
I'm only aware of 3 president CEOs, 3 or 4.
But the feedback was,
Oh, it was, one of them was, this is the right,
Yeah,
right data or information to collect. One of them was like wondering about the whether to use trend data.
they didn't want to be, one of them said it's not fair to hold me accountable for what happened 5 years ago. I would say I think the board can make a judgment when that person started and is the trend positive.
Mhm.
You know, some would argue that having a bad trend isn't a disadvantage for a new CEO if they turn that around. So that was kind of feedback. We did get feedback, I believe, from Regent Winter. We incorporated those.
Is this
That's
additional?
been, no,
We did that
you've
last
already
time.
reviewed that.
Okay.
That's been a number. I just was saying that that's in there. And then on page 4, we removed the comment on risk versus measures. And that. Essentially, we also included supporting metrics for pillar 1. That's on pages 8 and 9. We added on page 13, we've also added a section to address progress on the board's annual goals. And we'll populate the instrument.
Can I go back a couple pages? Can you just remind me how we 3-year budget plan versus 5 or however. It's the change on, I know we wanted them looking out further than 1 year on the budget, so I just remember trying to figure out how we pick 3-year.
I don't know if there was science behind it. I think it felt like
Jillian, do you have?
So that is a Regent Winter recommendation. And so that, it has not been approved by the full board.
I was
or-
just trying to figure out if we knew by 3. What are we asking for in fiscal? Generally, we're looking out 3 years, is that right? Where's 5?
Well, I think reality would be hard pressed to say we were in 3, but I think we do. I think we show 5 in the. I mean, I don't think I said anything last time, but some time ago I moved to 3 when I was a CEO.
I'm comfortable with.
And I think there was a couple things too in terms of a look back and analyzing the health of the institution is whether you are overspending your general use funding, how that you know, the budgets are complex, but if you really dig down on general use, how you don't want to be overspending that line. Okay, so so we added the board goals, we'll populate that. And then on page 17, we let the CEOs know that the board may have different priorities for CEOs in the future. So board goals do change. And we let them know that. I think this is, candidly, I think we've outworked it. I think it's ready. Team, do you have any additional?
There was a question in there still, and even in this version, about whether to include the general education package and the math pathways as 2 factors to consider when you're looking at one and the progress that is being made on a particular campus. So I don't know if you all wanted to include that or not, if that's a question for the full board, how you want to deal with that.
And I was recommending inclusion because we have some presidents that implement it early, they ought to get credit for that. On the other hand, if the general education framework will roll off because everybody has said we're going to implement by fall 2024. But I do think, the instrument in that way can be a bit dynamic as you complete those goals. I just think the CEOs ought to get credit for that. So I would say math pathways as well. We ought to put it in.
Yeah, well, my only question is, so on something like that, those are things that we're gonna get done or not get done. And do you put it into someone's living document, you just know, hey, this year we want to make sure we know if they got that done or not.
Right, it's a priority. The CEO then knows it's a priority. And to get it completed, there ought to be some recognition of that, in my view, and then it rolls off. But I appreciate it's kind of a go or no go.
Yeah, and it's a shorter term thing.
I do think our feedback from the board initially was, and from CEOs, was that if we focus only on completion rate, that might take 4 or 5 years to influence, but there's several supporting things we can do along the way, and we ought to be looking at those.
But are we putting those in performance agreements? Math pathways,
We are doing that. That's institutional performance. But this is executive performance.
Anybody else got an opinion?
I'd be inclined to not put it in. I know we can talk about it, but that's what I say every time. So, I mean, I buy either way.
I don't know, I guess if it's a priority, I'd be inclined to say kind of have it in front, have it there. I think it kind of sends the message that it's really something we want to see a go on.
Explain to me where it'd go again.
So I believe it was section 7.
So if you look at page 9, so you're still talking about gen ed and
Oh, yeah,
so
pillar 1 math.
there's just it's unfortunate that my red line and my comments are all in red, so you can't tell the comments from the red line, but not included in the dashboard, but recommended highly by Regent Lane is that you consider putting gen ed and in here too. And so it's just part of the narrative, a list of factors to refresh Regent's memories and refresh your CEO's memories on what, are the priorities for that particular year. And we don't have a specific question about each one of those. It's more of a how are we doing?
That'd be something you guys would fill in
Yeah.
versus the CEO or something.
But it's, if the,
The CEOs would, I'm sorry, Blake.
go ahead.
The CEOs would, in their self-assessments, address what they're doing in each of these categories. And then
All the
that's,
measurements that we've now put in here, persistent rate. I mean, so this is gonna come and you're gonna have all the foundational metrics. I assume like the way it's gonna come is you're gonna click on the link and it's gonna have all these.
no,
directly or how-
I think that some of it will have data, but some of it won't.
I had the CEO putting it in their self-evaluation.
So if you don't list it here, then how will they, what jumps there,
But they,
what prompts them putting it in or reporting on it if you don't list it?
well, it's a board goal, right? So we have them talking about broader year-to-year board goals.
I think traditionally, the way many of the evaluations went at the board, it gets narrower. So usually it's about 3 or 4 things that we talk about in terms of strengths, and there gets to be 3 or 4 things we talk about in terms of opportunities. This beefs that up and adds more.
Okay, but just walk me, so I'm trying to think about whether to look at this through the CEO lens or our lens. I'm gonna look at it through the regional lens. Okay, so I get section 6, right? I'm filling out all the questions on everything else. Make my comments, I get to section 6, and I'm looking at foundational metrics. The way this thing's gonna read is you're gonna have populated eligible enrollment, need-based grant scholarship aids awarded. You're gonna have that data is just sitting in there. It's not something CEO is gonna fill out. It's something that we're looking at, and then we go into the board, question 7, after looking at all of those things, the new dashboard essentially, right? That's what that is.
And then, we had it.
But then don't we rank them later on the board, individual board goals for the year, beyond just the strategic priorities and that?
Yes, the new section on,
Yeah, section 7,
Mhm,
right?
yes.
So what I'm saying is a board goal, which I think it has been, for math pathways and all that, then I would think it would live in.
It could live in both places, but sometimes board goals they've changed.
So that's my resistance to putting it in there, because once they've done it, they don't regress on it, right? Or do we think it needs to be sitting in here year after year, so we make sure they always know, hey, don't regress on math
Maybe
pathways.
sits there the first time to make sure that you're prompting it, and then I think it will change because of what you just said, the goals change.
Some of the supporting metrics to pillar 1 on the dashboard will not change. So some of them. The general education and the math pathways, those goals will be completed and be implemented. And then to your point, do you need them in here at all? So I think what I'm hearing is a reluctance to put those shorter term ones in here because they'll be included in the board goals section.
Well, that's my
Okay.
perspective.
So then you would just have it live under the under the board goals.
Under
You
the
would
board.
put math pathways
Right.
under the board.
It'd
Okay,
just-
I
it'd
would
just
be,
be under the board goal section.
Well,
We said
that.
that we'll evaluate them, right? So it'd be if board goal, I can't remember which one it was, but goal number 6 was math pathways and that. Okay, are they consistently exceeding expectations, meeting expectations or not, right? I mean, it's in there, we're scoring them on that.
Yeah.
That's just my,
We can do that. And that is a little different than some of these pillar one supporting metrics that are gonna be there.
well, yeah, I think the
Or-
foundational
yeah.
metrics and the, yeah, I guess we keep calling them all foundational metrics here, but the new dashboard that we're including in this, most of that stuff we're putting in there because we want to see it year to year to year, the trend, what's going on, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
why we've made all these changes.
So we can easily take this feedback and make that change.
I mean, and I get Regent Lane was the one asking for that to be in there. Is that something that's gonna be I mean, the general ed framework, is that something that,
Once it's implemented, it's like, I mean, if we thought that someone wasn't following it, I guess, that would be a different issue. But it should be in place at the latest fall of 24 everywhere.
Yeah.
And so the ship kind of sailed, like it's completed.
yeah, I don't wanna wait till May of 20. Well, I guess that you're saying, so May of 24, we'd look, I don't wanna wait that late if they're that far behind. But, yeah, I'd let it live the board goals, but I'm happy to
Okay.
kind of defer to what the wisdom of the group.
I think I heard from Regent I said he'd like to let live in board goals.
Sure.
And
I mean-
so,
I mean, they were supposed to be working on it this year and we didn't have it on the document. Does that mean they didn't work on it because it wasn't? I mean, I think we're acting like this document somehow reminds us or changes behavior or whatever. I would be wanted to be as self-refreshing as possible.
got it.
But I can go the other way too. I don't, it doesn't really matter. to me.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know what
don't,
everybody wants to do. We'll do it.
yeah, I'm not
I think what I'm hearing is on the shorter term goals, that they can just be on the board goals.
Yes. yes. I would like to.
And so then, I just want to make sure, I'm Julian, because you were talking about the red highlight versus the red line. When we're talking about all those questions about have they and have they not, I mean, I see your comments over to the side, but I just want to make sure the red highlight means they go away. Or you guys just say, hey, they have this, they have not this, they have.
They're gonna be statements, have or have not, rather than questions. So the regents aren't gonna be required to go in and answer yes or no on all of those questions. They're just gonna have staff's,
So the current state is we had, so the regions have said, we want a growth plan for the institutions. We want the president and chancellor to be growing the institution. But we had questions for the regions. Did that happen? Well, we don't need that. So sometimes regions would say yes, when in fact the enrollment went down or stayed flat. But we don't need a judgment from the regions. We just need to put in the evaluation, enrollment went up or it didn't. And that's kind of what we're moving to.
Well, so then do those statements belong up above 7? Where you're looking at all the other data versus living between, after 7, that's questions 8, 9, 10, 11.
yes,
Okay, so you'll make,
yes.
Okay.
That would make more sense, and I'll make sure that's clear when we bring it to the board.
I don't see anything else. Those are my questions. Like, were you doing? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I'm hoping that this is the last, that we can move it on.
Did you have anything else, Carl? Cheryl, do you?
No.
Do you have anything else, Blake?
No.
All right, so can I get a motion to send this for the changes that we discussed, final recommendation to the board today? Or is it good to the board today? or-
No, in June,
Board in June, okay.
right.
Yes, final recommendation to the board in June. Sorry, I saw today on there.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the assessment tool with the amended changes for the board.
Do I hear a second? Second. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Um,
Aye. Okay, here we go. We got a motion to recess in executive session.
I have such a motion.
Let's go.
I move that the Governance Committee recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. The subject of the executive session is to discuss FY24 university CEO compensation adjustments, a personnel matter, and the purpose of the executive session is to protect the privacy of one or more of the individual board employees. Session should last approximately 30 minutes. I think that's
25.
Let's say 20. Shall include the following persons who are either members of the body or paid, members of the governance committee, President and CEO Blake Flanders for a portion only, General Counsel John Yeary, Project Specialist Julie Miller. The meeting shall resume in this room on this Zoom number at 9:56 a.m.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.